More than a third of former football players who played between 1960 and 2020 self-reported they believe they have CTE, the disease associated with concussions and brain injuries. This figure comes from a pool of more than 4,000 players who participated in a Harvard University questionnaire on perceived CTE symptoms. A new study looking at this has been published by JAMA Neurology. More than a third of the former players interviewed described having cognitive difficulties, headaches, low testosterone, and other symptoms stemming from their playing days. Dr. Rachel Grashow joins us now. She is the director of epidemiological research initiatives at the Football Players Health Study at Harvard University. Doctor, this is an important topic. We really appreciate you being here with us. CTE can only be accurately diagnosed after death in an autopsy. But what do we know about it right now? What is CTE and what are the symptoms?
Great question. So just to say that CTE is a diagnosis that can only be made after someone passes away, and it's based on the accumulation of specific proteins in parts of the brain. And this has been tied previously to head injury that occurred in life. I think that one of the key pieces that we want to emphasize here is that we think living players are in a tough spot because on the one hand, we know that they're having symptoms like issues with memory and thinking and concentration, and they want to be proactive about it. But what's difficult is that the conversations around CTE now really focus on the fact that we can't know if they have it. And we also don't have anything to do about it. There's no treatment or cure. So we really wanted to think about living players and get at what were their concerns and what do folks have with those concerns? What do they have in common? What can we learn?
How do these symptoms impact someone's day-to-day life?
Well, I think on the day-to-day, I think people may have trouble finding their keys or finding a word. They may have trouble concentrating or planning, some sort of complex day or task. So I think they come up a lot. They come up for everyone. It's a part of aging. It's a part of lots of different conditions that people have. In fact, people can have these symptoms if they have sleep apnea or hypertension or even depression. The issue comes about is that former players are really under a lot of scrutiny, and there's so much conversation about head injury and CTE. We believe that those with those conditions and those concerns may prematurely decide that they have CTE and maybe not take the proactive health behaviors that could actually help them.
That said, what are the challenges with a study that is self-reported? And is this really the only way to grasp how prevalent this is prior to, forgive my language, but let's call it like it is, prior to an athlete's body being donated to science?
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is a challenge. I think until they have diagnostics while players are alive, we are going to be in a place where we're trying to, in some ways, guess and predict what's going on. In a lot of ways, this study isn't really about whether they actually have it or not. It's really about what are the things that we can actually go after with players, with their physicians, with their partners, that can actually make positive change. While we can't go back and change the fact that they had head injury, and we can't know if they actually have it, there's actually so much that we can do that we learned from this study, such as can we go after their low testosterone, their depression? Can we go after sleep apnea? And all these things that are actually impacting their cognitive function now that we can do something about. And that's why, in a way, this feels like a positive finding because there's so much that can be done.
Let's pull on that thread a little bit more. I mean, you just sort of touched the surface, but what do you take away from this study? And what is something that can be done? I mean, this is just a self-reporting study. So essentially, the former football player would need to then bring what they're saying to their PCP.
Right. And I think the truth is, yes, it is self-reported. So there's some things that we can't confirm, but also some of these measures are self-reported anyway. When it comes to depression, when it comes to pain intensity, there really is no other way to get at those than by asking someone how they're feeling. What we're hoping is that players, instead of feeling hopeless or unable to do anything, that they're going to bring some of these questions to their physicians. They'll talk to their partners about different steps they could take. Has their blood pressure been checked? Do they know that their blood sugar is under control? All of those pieces feed into the full body. We feel at this point that a lot of the focus on football player health is focused on the neck up. And what we're trying to say is there's a whole body system that's involved in how a player feels and thinks, such as their sleep, such as their pain. Are they taking opioids? Are they depressed? All of those pieces, I think, are at play when we think about how players are feeling. And the concern is that if they're not feeling well, they'll prematurely assume that it's CTE and not take some positive health chances and conversations that could really help them.
Dr. Rachel Grashow, this is so important. We really appreciate you taking some time for us. We hope you'll come back.
Thank you so much.